How many fails can a guitar I love possibly have? The answer might surprise you. Let's find out. Hello heathens, thank you so much for joining me. I am JD Blute, that's Evil Unicorn. This is Hails and Fails. This is the gear review series where I don't go through every single spec. I just talk about what I like, the hails, and what I dislike, the fails. And today on the chopping block is probably my favorite guitar that I own. The 2020 PRS SE Custom 24 in charcoal black. Before we get going, if I happen to entertain and or inform you, I would love a subscribe, and if you could throw a like on the video, it really helps getting me discovered, and I actually think I'm pretty good at this whole gear review stuff. At the top of the video, I mentioned that I already knew how many fails there are going to be on this guitar. Reason is I got so surprised I actually had to walk away from the original recording of this video, and we're going to try again and see if I come to the same result. How could a guitar I love have so many fails? Well, the answer is real simple. The things we love, we just love and generally don't call them out. It's the stuff that makes life difficult that we point out as humans, and that sucks. But either way, it's my job to do that for this guitar, which I love. It's my favorite guitar. It's the one that's all over the channel almost all of the time, but I still manage to find some fails. Let's jump into it. As always, we start with the headstock, not in my face. I'm sure there was an easier way to do that. This is the classic PRS headstock. You know exactly what you are getting. I always give the headstock a hail unless I absolutely hate it. I really believe the diversity in headstocks is a big differentiator in brand identity, and that's a whole bunch of corporate bullshit to say, I really love the fact that this looks like a PRS headstock. I also will point out another hail. I love the fact, I have no idea if you can see that, I love the fact that the information about this guitar is on the back of the headstock. The serial number, however, does get a fail from me because according to the PRS serial number lookup, this is either a 2019 or a 2020. That's terrible because it cannot have been built in 2 years unless somebody literally started it on December 31st and finished it in January. Turns out you have to dig a little deeper. This is in fact a 2020. Why is that important? Because this is the guitar that you've all seen I bought for my birthday. I'm 40. I wanted something crafted in my 40th year for my 40th birthday. I will give a hail to the absolute stunning fretwork. They're only glued on, they're only nickel, but they are just fantastically buttery smooth. I love the way the fretboard seamlessly just blends in with the actual neck. By the by, before I get too far on, the reason I'm not spouting off statistics and specs of this guitar is because you can find all those at the link in the description, and that will tell you absolutely everything because it's coming direct from the source. Moving back in a first for hails and fails, a first for the channel, I have to give the nut both a hail and a fail. First of all, this is a stock PRS nut. These are the nuts that go on the SE editions. They are not graphite in any way. However, for what they are, they do very well. What they could be used for, they do very poorly. If you go with anything bigger than a 10 to 46, maybe a 48, you will run into string catching and just poor flow and poor tuning. I don't think that's a great start for, this is a student edition, so this is the beginner PRS. This is what you are hoping people will jump into your brand with, and once again, the nut falls short. People have seen these guitars in everyone's hands, from Wes Borland to Paul Allender, and if you're wondering why I'm only mentioning the extreme guys, it's because those guys do not have 10s to 46s. They have some thick-ass strings, and this nut will not allow you to go that same level. I tried it. It sucks. It was like, I don't know what it was like, but it sucked. I would prefer a better nut or a more I guess, well-rounded nut. Make it accessible so we can throw this down to D standard right now. What you're hearing in all the demos in this video is this guitar tuned to E flat standard, half step down, for those of you who actually know guitar terminology, like I don't, because that is my workhorse tuning, and this is a workhorse guitar. Initially, I bought it to play black metal. I was going to go D standard, maybe drop C, but I chose not to. I think it works better as an all-around. I can play everything from Metallica to Cradle of Filth, both poorly, but I can play them on this guitar. The fretboard itself is another huge hail. I have never felt a fretboard this smooth and this accepting, and I'll tie that in with a hail for the neck, sort of. Paul himself has said he designed the necks to be the everyman's player guitar, or the every player's guitar. And that's really true. It's not really round, it's not really flat, and for someone who has a weird-ass thumb, it actually accommodates my playing style very, very well. You'll see that in the demo right now. Where I have to give the neck a fail is something that is an entire nitpick. I love the fact, see, I hail it because it adds to the aesthetic, or it keeps in line with the aesthetic, rather. But this is a gloss neck. When you sweat, your hand sticks in place, and although I am not a shredder, that is obvious. I would like my hand to go where I ask it to go, when I ask it to go there. Not often the case. This studio, this room gets really hot, and I do have to fight with it when I start sweating. I would prefer a satin neck. They could have still made it black, but I understand why it's here. So maybe a fail? I don't know. Let's put it this way. The hail on the neck and the fail on the neck cancel each other out. How's that? There we go. Let's move on. I have a comical fail for you next. I would like you to take a look at the bird inlays. Along the lower frets, they look like birds. Okay, still look like birds. Starting to look a little, what the actual F is this? What are those? Those are blobs. Those are not birds. Why there is not a standard PRS transition inlay around here when the bird is no longer possible is beyond me. Is it a fail? Does it affect playability? No. Is it ridiculously stupid? Yes. So not necessarily a fail, but I did have to point it out because when I unboxed the guitar, I absolutely laughed at that. But let's jump right back into the hails. The high fret access. Again, not a shredder. Have absolutely no need for it. But you can get, I'll use my opposite hand, you can definitely get, we'll switch hands, you can get right up there without any issue whatsoever. I'm not a big fan of the joint, just aesthetically not pleasing to me, not a fail. Love the fact that we've got the high access, and I love the fact that it's a neck through. I This is actually the first neck-through guitar I've ever played. Again, not necessarily a hail, just something I absolutely truly enjoy. I'm also going to give a hail to body design and the binding. I generally don't like binding, but this adds a touch of distinction between black on black that probably wouldn't work if this was a more aggressive guitar, but works just fine as it's a PRS. Also, the paint, the transition is flawless. So for an Indonesian-made guitar, the finish is just an absolute hail. Also, charcoal finish, I think I said this before, new for 2020, and absolutely just blew my face off when I saw it. This was going to be the guitar. This was always meant to be the guitar. I have to give another hail to the versatility of the pickups. You have a 3-way toggle switch, which is not that impressive, but when you do the toggle, there's an actual real appreciable difference. You might not be able to hear it in the demos because I'm just doing a little bit of a distorted thing here. However, when you go clean or when you go lower gain, you can really tell the difference. I'm much more of a high gain player, but sometimes when I just get into that mood where you want to play some blues or when you want to play some classic rock or hard rock, when you want to play something that isn't balls to the wall high gain metal, the variety and the versatility of the pickups really shines through. Absolutely. And another thing, the cleans. We'll do a clean demo right now. That's me literally bypassing the Fortin NTS plugin that I've been using throughout this entire video. Just going guitar, Focusrite, DAW, video. It could do with a little bit of processing, no lie, but once you put this through a clean channel of your favorite amp or plugin, it sparkles. And I think versatility, again, is the buzzword of this video, and I think overall that is worth a giant hail because this guitar really does do anything you want it to do, and it does it capably well. I hesitate to include this next fail because I don't know what's causing it. You can't hear it, but in the demos that we've listened to, I have a tremendous amount of ringing, and it sounds like when I hit power chords especially, it's coming from the back cavity, and it feels like one of the springs is loose. I hesitate to call that a fail because I have messed with the spring, so that very well could be user error. I just haven't gone in the back there and checked it out. However, it is worth mentioning that this is something that could happen and could affect your enjoyment because it is rather noticeable in a low volume environment just using, you know, your speakers, or you don't want to play loud. It's not noticeable in your headphones, and it's definitely not noticeable when you're cranking up because the signal doesn't transfer to whatever you're sending. It's just in a low noise environment, I really feel there's a ring and a rattle, and I have to get to the bottom of this. Might be just specific to this guitar itself, but something worth noting. I do and I don't want to hand out this next fail because it seems like I'm crapping on this guitar, but there is so much good about it that I think the negatives point themselves out more evidently. It's a push-pull pot. but the push-pull is so far away from where you have to be that you have to change, and if you're holding a pick, it's really difficult to get a good grip on it. I like the fact that it's sturdy, but it is, in the heat of the moment, if you're trying to do like a quick change, you're not going to get there. I would love to have a little bit of a grip on this. Maybe you can do the dime bag thing, but I think it's missing something if you're going to make this a push-pull. I don't give a crap. I hate the tone pot. I very rarely use it. This one is always at 10 because at 1, it just sounds like a broken wah pedal. But to me, that's true of every tone pot. When you put them to 0 or 1, whatever the lower number is supposed to be, they sound like a broken wah pedal. So I always keep it at 10, but the push-pull I do use because every once in a while I like that single coil sound. Again, versatility. It's just a bitch and a half to get through. And I do have one more hail for this guitar, and it is going to be the weirdest thing I have ever said, but I think it needs to be said. This guitar is the lightest and most well-balanced heavy guitar I have ever held. Small story time. I used to own a Washburn dime bag model. That thing was 30 pounds of solid wood, and it felt it. This thing is nowhere near 30 pounds, but it is by far the heaviest physical guitar in my collection. But it doesn't feel that way. I mean, it does when, I'm trying to do curls with it because I haven't worked out in forever. So while you might be upset at the fact that it's a little bit heavier than your shred machine, once it's on you, once it's on your strap, you're not going to notice it. So I give that, I don't think I give that a huff fail. Maybe. I don't like physically heavy guitars. This one doesn't feel like it. So yeah, I don't know what to say to that. Overall, even though the hails and fails score looks a little weird, I absolutely love what you can do with this guitar. I love the look. I love the sound. I love the versatility. So overall, it is a hail from me. This is, in Canadian dollar monies, it is $1,000. So I'm guessing it's close to 800 some odd US and Euro. And if you have that kind of money to throw around and you are considering jumping into the PRS line, or if you're considering a change from your regular shred machine, I cannot recommend these enough. Don't get my color. I want to be the only one with one. Once you set them up, and I did skip over the bridge for a reason, once you set them up, it is absolutely flawless. I don't use the whammy at all, so once I eliminated that from the profile of this guitar, I haven't had tuning issues at all. It wasn't really worth a hail or a fail because it's a bridge with a whammy. You either use it or you don't. I would prefer they put the solid bridge on one of these guys, but I don't have that luxury. So I just took the whammy off. Stays in tune flawlessly. Love it. Oh, I would tighten the tuning heads though. That's just me. I have rambled on for far too long. Check out the link in the description for this guitar if you are interested in it. Again, if I've entertained and or informed you, please throw a subscribe, like, and let me know what you think of this guitar in the comments below. I'm always looking to start a discussion and hear from you, the community, about what you enjoy about me and about what I bring to the channel. That's Evil Unicorn. I'm JD Blute. You have been fantastically amazing. Remember, as we always say, be safe, be consensual, and if you can't be good, well then, sweet Satan on a pogo stick, be good at it. Bye.